What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are gonna continue binding up this thing. Hopefully we can get it finished. There's really not much to do. Let me show you. So all we have to do is install our shocks, install the brake lines for the passenger side, and finish all of the steering, which, like I said, it's not that much, and I really hope I can get it done today. I really think we can, so let's get right to it. All right, so the first thing that we're gonna do is start by installing the shocks, and the best way that I think there is to do this is to go ahead and throw your bolt on the bottom mount, just like that. Once you have that bolt in, you can go ahead and get your bushings ready. There's two bushings for this one. There is one with the bigger hole and one with the smaller hole. The one that has the bigger hole will go to the shock to the bottom, and the one with the smaller hole is gonna go on top. We're gonna go ahead and throw this one on, cut this strap off, get the nut off, and then try and get this all in before it goes into the shock tower. So you can hold it down a little bit, and there we go. We'll let it run out. Make sure that it falls into the hole pretty well centered. There we go. That's pretty good. And then we'll install the top bushing with its nut. And that's really all there is to it. Now all I gotta do is make sure that I get everything nice and tight, and we'll be done with the shock. Okay, now we got those nice and tight. The next thing I'm gonna do is go ahead and install these new brake caliper bolts that I got for it, which is super simple. You obviously just line up your brake caliper after you removed at least one of them, and just install it. All right, we got that one in pretty good. And now I'm just gonna go ahead and install the other one, get them torqued, and we'll be good with this part of the brakes. I'm also gonna go ahead and torque basically everything that goes to this, to everything, just because I like torquing everything to whatever torque spec it should be torqued to. So I'm gonna go ahead and get all that done. I'll check back in once we get this stuff for the actual brake lines figured out. Okay, guys, so we have the brake line in place. I'm not really sure on the placement. Like I said, these are from a 2006 F250, and this brake line should actually be the driver's side, and the driver's side should actually be on the passenger side. And I was kind of messing with it, and this is the best way that I could figure out it actually fitting. On the top, it threads right in. It's like a direct bolt in, and then I think on the side, I'm gonna bolt it right there to one of these holes in the frame, probably that one right there. Just like I did on the other side. And on the bottom, like I said, this is the way that it's ran, and I'm not sure how I feel about it. It's gonna be kind of close to the tire, so once I have the tire on, I'll kind of reassess everything and see if maybe I gotta mount it a different way, but for now I think that'll be good. So we're gonna move on to the actual steering, because all of this is basically done. Now we gotta actually put on our what's this called? The drag link, I believe. And I also gotta mess with the track bar because it's not really centered. The axle has to go that way a little bit. So I'm gonna mess with the little adjustment shims. I'm probably gonna use the one that's kind of centered. I think that's the one that's gonna get this axle in place. So yeah, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, guys, so we got our drag link all put together. All of this is all Moog parts, other than this little adjustment sleeve, but everything else is Moog, so it should be pretty good stuff. Greasable ends on both ends, and then we got for our steering dampener, which I still have to figure out. We're not gonna do that right away, but that is something that I'm gonna be using on this thing. So yeah, we got everything measured out. So kind of the way that I did it is that I got my wheels as straight as I could get them, as well as my box. I got the pivot arm as straight as I can get it. So then I took a measurement from the center of this to the center of this right here and copied it to the tie rod. So hopefully that should get me close enough until I get an actual alignment, and then we'll see how good this thing ended up being. Now another thing that I've heard is a lot of guys have to actually cut this right here. I personally didn't run into that problem, but like I said, we'll see once we get it aligned. Maybe it does need to go in a lot more and this is gonna have to get cut, but for now we'll be good. I'll throw this under the truck and we'll move on to the next step. Well, actually before doing that, I'm gonna adjust the man, I keep forgetting the name of this thing. Wow, can't believe it. Okay, we're gonna adjust the track bar because right now it's the whole axle is kind of shifted towards the passenger side about half an inch, 1 inch. So and like you can see, I have the adjustment washer plate, whatever, all the way to the passenger side. So I believe if I use it on the center one, that should bring the axle back to the driver's side, the amount that I need. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that done, and then we'll move on to actually installing the tie rod, the drag link, yeah, you know what I mean. Anyways, we'll do that right now. Okay, so now that I have this loose, all I have to do is pull the bolt out, pull the axle towards the driver's side, and install these plates that, as you can see, are centered. Okay, so unfortunately I didn't get to record everything. It cut out, I don't know why, but I'm gonna explain basically what I did. So to kind of get the weight off of the axle, I put these straps on both sides, so that way it's hanging by the straps, but it's also not putting too much pressure on the shocks. And then my dad on the other side with a 4x4 pushed the axle over this way as I tapped it right here, and I got it to jump enough to where we got the little shims in place. So now basically what we got to do is put it back on the jack stands and kind of remeasure everything and see how it's doing, but I think it should be pretty good. Okay, so I just got everything measured and it's pretty good. We're actually within like a 1/4 inch or 1/8 of an inch, which I think is pretty good. Plus if the truck still has to fully settle, it's still on these big jack stands. So once it fully settles, we'll measure it again and we'll see where it's at. Well, I mean, once it's on the tires, we'll measure it again. But now we can actually throw this thing in, which will mean that our steering will be pretty much done. After that, the only thing that I gotta figure out is that steering dampener, but I'm not gonna mess with that right now. I just want to be able to get everything done. Once everything's done and I know that it's working well, then we'll go back and probably put in the sway bar and the steering dampener. So I'm gonna go ahead, get this thing in, and yeah. There we go, guys, check that out. The steering, the track bar, it is all in and it looks really good. As you can see, the angles between the track bar and the steering, the tie rod, the drag link, sorry, I keep getting all that stuff mixed up. Anyways, it is all super close. And that's basically what you want to try and avoid bump steer or anything like that. It could be a little bit better, but for right now, I'm pretty happy with that. So I think we're gonna run with that and see how it goes. So now basically all I have to do is get everything tight, get everything torqued, but that's pretty much stuff that I'm pretty sure you guys don't want to see. So I'm gonna get all that stuff done, and then I'll come back in and check with you guys. Okay guys, so we got everything on this thing tight. We got it under its own weight on its wheels and tires. So I'm gonna show you a few things. Again, we got all of this stuff tight, and when we got it tight, it actually brought the track bar up a little bit. And then with the weight of the truck, as you can see, our gap on our track bar and the drag link is, I mean, I think it's just about perfect. Like, I don't know how well you can see, but from start to end, it's just about parallel. And that is basically, from what I know, that's basically what you want to see. This thing being completely even from side to side. And I think we accomplished it. It looks really, really good. Also, the angle on the track bar, thanks to that drop bracket, is super good. It's pretty flat. It's not too, you know, too steep. So that's also really good. And then the angle on the drag link over here is really good too. So I don't know if that has to do with the pitman arm or the steering box being any different than the OBS, but like everything is, man, it's, I couldn't think of it. I couldn't get it any better. It's just about perfect, to be honest with you guys. So I'm super happy with that. Also, the axle is just about perfectly centered with the truck. I don't know how well you'll be able to see. Basically, we got this portion of the tire sticking out on both sides. If you ask me, I think that is really, really good. I'm really, really happy with that, with the way that it looks. And we're basically done with the whole suspension setup. Everything is installed. Oh, another thing, the brake lines on this side, it's a little bit close. I'm gonna have to bend this hard line out a little bit. That was the driver's side. And on the passenger side, this side is pretty bad. So I'm gonna have to move, like, undo this bend a little bit out that way, and maybe like find somewhere to kind of tie this brake line back a little bit so that it's not so close to the tire, which it shouldn't be a huge deal, because when the tire turns, it should push that line back anyways, because it's all tied into the to the knuckle. But I really don't like how close it is. But yeah, the suspension, steering is basically all done. At least the steering on the axle side is all done. The only thing that we have left to do is to hook up our power steering pump and all that stuff back up, and then we'll be 100% done. But I'm just about done for the day. I actually have to start getting ready to head back to Phoenix to go back to work. But hopefully next weekend I'll have enough time to come and put all this stuff back together so that we can actually drive this truck out of here. That's gonna be my goal for next weekend, to be able to drive this truck out of here. Now, before I go, I wanna kind of clarify something. I like the lift kit a lot, except one thing. The drop brackets for the radius arms. I really don't like how far they kind of come down. And that's something that I knew I wasn't gonna like from the moment that I bought the kit. I didn't like the way that I used drop brackets for that. But once I get it aligned, I'm gonna ask the guys how much caster it has, and if it needs that drop bracket, because I believe that's kind of why you want the drop bracket, to kind of get your caster back in alignment. So yeah, like I said, once I get it aligned, I'm gonna ask those guys and see if I actually really need it, because I feel like it dropped it more than what the lift is. And like I said, I really don't like how far it looks. You know, it doesn't look very clean to me. Plus, one of you guys pointed out something that is very true. This actually puts a whole bunch of leverage on your frame, because Well, yeah, you're basically extending your leverage point on it. Your frame, instead of mounting, I mean your radius arm, instead of mounting right here, it now mounts about 4 inches, 3 inches lower than it did. So you're gonna have all this leverage pushing back on your frame, which could potentially damage it. Now, if you've seen any of my previous videos, I've actually talked about how this is a temporary setup. I don't really plan on running this for too long. What I really want to run, and hopefully maybe within the next 6 months, if not sooner, I actually want to run a 4-link setup on here to completely get rid of at least this whole deal. And I'll probably end up getting rid of this bracket as well. The reason why I haven't done that is because I want to do my own research to make my own 4-link setup for this thing. And I'm waiting for some tools that I'm going to be using to make this and a whole bunch of other parts. As well as, like I said, I want to do the research to be able to get the proper angles on those bars and on the bracket and everything, because I want this thing to ride pretty good. But yeah, like I said, other than that, this thing is so close to being done. Also, like, check this out. I can actually move it now pretty easy, which to me is a pretty good sign that this thing should ride way better than it did before, because before I couldn't shake it this easily. So I'm pretty excited. The bed, it's gonna stay off for a few more days, probably weeks, because there's a few more things that I gotta do back here. I gotta clean out the tanks, put new screens in them, and there's a few more things that I gotta do back there. But this thing's gonna be back together. Hopefully within the next couple of weeks we'll be able to drive this thing out of here. And I'm super excited, guys. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. Again, leave a like, leave any comments that you might have down below. I'll do my best to answer you guys. It might take me a little while because, like I said, I've been super busy lately. And I'm sorry, you know, that I'm not putting out as many videos as I would like to. But again, leave a like, leave any comments. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you for the next one.